friends, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm coming at you with my March TBR, which feels crazy because I feel like just yesterday I was sitting here with my boyfriend picking out my February TBR. So time is definitely flying by. So this is my March TBR, but basically this is my Tis the Damn Readathon TBR also. If you don't know, Tis the Damn Readathon is a Taylor Swift themed readathon, which is month-long, and basically I already had my TBR pretty much picked out, and then I did my best to make all of those books fit, and they all fit. I only had to add one more, and yeah. So I'm gonna get started with my Tis the Damn Readathon TBR and then mention the other reasons why I also wanted to read those books, and then at the end I'll add any of the books that weren't included in that TBR. Does that make sense?
I don't know. There's a whole lot of books.
So for Tis the Damn Readathon, I will not be able to tell you all of the hosts from the top of my head. I genuinely am here because my best friend Jan from Agaton is a host. I saw the video on her channel. I did not participate last year, so I don't really know anything about this readathon except for Jan. That's it. So for this readathon, every single Taylor Swift album has 3 prompts. I will not be going through all of the prompts. If you want to know all the prompts, go to one of the hosts' channels, videos, all of that. I will link everything down below, but I will not be going through every single prompt. And all of the albums have 2 reading prompts and then have 1 like activity life type of prompt. So I cannot, for the first album, which is Taylor Swift, the 2 prompts, I could not find any books that I want to read anytime soon. So this is the only one that I am doing the life prompt, activity prompt, but all the other ones are books. So for the first one, it is to post a picture of your book on social media, and I do this very often, so it shouldn't be hard at all. But this is the only one that I'm doing the activity / life prompt for. The next one is fearless, and for that is to read a book that intimidates you. So for that, I picked Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I had other reasons to read this book. One of them is a secret TBR video that I'm super excited to film this month. And the other one's also that I'm participating in a year-long reading challenge, and one of the prompts is to read a book by an author that has the same name as you, but obviously there's literally no authors that have my name spelled the same way that I do. So I went for the next best thing, which is Naomi Novik. Also, this book intimidates the hell out of me because I've heard Reagan from Peruse Project talk about this book for many years. It is a fantasy. This is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, and Rumpelstiltskin was like my favorite character when I used to watch Once Upon a Time, that ABC show. But this one scares me a lot because it seems like it's going to be a high fantasy. It's also standalone, and usually when I read fantasy, I don't tend to read standalones in fantasy, so I'm scared but excited to finally read this. For the album Speak Now, the prompt is to read a book to movie, a book that's becoming an adaptation. So for that, I will be reading The School for Good and Evil by Chainani, and this one is also a double prompt because I'm also reading this for 1989, and I'm reading this for a book with a morally gray character. So this one is a middle grade. Also, March is middle grade March, so I wanted to fit in as many middle grades as I can. So this one is basically a world where I don't really know very well, but this is a fantasy, and I guess all children have magical superpowers, and there's this school where they kind of teach you to be like the good guy or the bad guy, like hero versus villain, and we follow our 2 main characters, and their whole lives, like one of them wants to be the good person and the other person wants to be evil, and then when they get to the school and they get like sorted, they're put in the opposite teams. I don't know if that makes sense, but this is becoming a Netflix TV show, which is why I really wanted to read it also. And last but not least, this is also for the reading project that I'm doing year long, and also one of the prompts for that was to read a book that's becoming an adaptation, so this is the one that I'm reading. For the album Red, the prompt is to read a book with red on the cover, and for that I am going to be reading Olga Dies Dreaming by Gonzalez. I can't say their name, so I'm not gonna attempt to. But this one, I'm really excited to read it, obviously for Tis the Damn Readathon, but also this is Noelle over at Noelle 7 Pages book club pick for the month of March. She runs her own book club. Oh my god, is the Hot Girl Book Club. And myself and Cami are co-hosts this month. So this one follows two Puerto Rican siblings, and I already know that I'm gonna love this book because they have Puerto Rican characters. So these two Puerto Rican siblings, they both live in New York, and they're doing like super well. I believe the girl is kind of like an event planner, and I forget what the boy does, but they're doing pretty good. And they've never really been very close with their mother because their mother basically left them in New York City, and she went back to Puerto Rico to do kind of some activist work, and they've never been really close. But then once hurricane season hit Puerto Rico, their mother comes back to New York because obviously Puerto Rico isn't very good at the time because of the hurricane and everything. So now they kind of have to like talk to their mom and just see what's up, and obviously it's gonna be like awkward because they don't really have a relationship with their mother. And I'm super excited about this book because I've been really into like family dynamic type of books. So I'm really excited to read this one. For the next album, which is Reputation, the prompt was a recommendation. So I'm assuming that it was a book just recommended by a friend. And for that, I'm going to be reading Next Year in Havana by Chanel Clayton. So this book has been recommended to me by my best friend Cami and a ton of people here on BookTube. So that's why I'm reading this book. But I'm also reading this book because Alicia from Alicia Guzman is running the Latinx reading project. So each month she chose a country, a Latinx country, and you read a book from that country. So basically, obviously, Chanel Clayton is Cuban, so that's why I'm reading this book in the month of March. This one is kind of like a companion to The Most Beautiful Girl in Cuba, which I read a couple months ago in November for Brujas and Books. But yeah, I'm really excited to read this. This is a historical fiction set in 1958 in Havana, and it also seems like it's going to have a present timeline in 2017. And I loved The Most Beautiful Girl in Cuba and the timelines and the back and forth and the present and obviously the historical fiction aspect of it. I hope there's romance in here. And I'm really excited. I've heard great things about this one. Next up for Lover, the prompt was a 5-star prediction, and for that I'm going to be reading Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow. So like I said, I want to prioritize middle grade this month because it's middle grade March, and then this is also part of a secret TBR that I have planned. And just because of the trend that I've been seeing recently with myself for middle grade books and the fact that I've been loving every single middle grade that I pick up, that's why I think this is going to be a 5-star prediction. I've heard a little bit about this book, and I just think that I'm really going to love this series. So basically this book follows this boy, I believe his name is Morrigan, and he is born in the unluckiest day ever in this little town that he lives in. So basically his whole town always blames him for all of the misfortunes and the bad things that happen in their town. So one day this person, I forgot their name, what is their name? Jupiter North, kind of picks him up and he's like, I'm gonna take you to Nevermore. And they go to Nevermore, which is this fantasy land, and I don't know what will happen from there, but it looks like there's gonna be trials and I'm excited. And for the last two prompts, I doubled up. So we have folklore, and it is to read a book written by 2 authors, and then Evermore, which is to read a mystery thriller. So for that I picked The Golden Couple, and this was the only book that wasn't originally on my TBR, and I added it because I cannot find any books that fit those 2 prompts. So here we are, The Golden Couple. This was the February mystery thriller pick for book of the month. I don't know anything about it, but I'm assuming this is going to be like a domestic type of mystery thriller. Obviously it's about a married couple, and I've heard things about like the therapist, and I guess the therapist kind of has some unorthodox like methods to her therapy. So that's all I know about this book, and honestly I don't really want to know much else because it kind of seems like a corny, like I've heard this type of story before, but I just picked it because I didn't really know what else to pick for February. So yeah, here we are. So those are all the books for the Tis the Damn Readathon TBR. Now I'm gonna go to all of the other books that I want to read this month that are not included with tis a damn readathon. So first up, I have Ghost Squad by Claribel Ortega, and this is the book club pick for Brujas and Books. So this is another middle grade story. This is kind of like a Coco meets Ghostbusters type of adventure book. So basically this follows these two best friends who awaken some spirits, and then they need help from their family to fix the havoc that is wreaking in their town. I have 2 graphic novels that I want to read this month. I won't say much about them because these are part of the secret TBR, and I feel like if I go into too much depth, you're gonna guess it. So first I have Seance Tea Party, and I actually don't know much about it either. And then I also have A Silent Voice. Another book that is a book club pick, I forget the name of the book club, I'm so sorry. I think it is In Translation, something like that. I'm sorry. I will link it down below. This one is run by Alicia over Alicia Guzman, and the co-host for this month is Camila, also my best friend here. And they are reading The Shadow of the Wind. I don't know anything about this book. I think this is like a high fantasy, but I could be totally wrong. I don't know anything about it though. Last but not least, I have 2 books that I want to potentially get to. I will get to either or. So obviously in March we celebrate St. Patrick's Day, so I do want to read a book by an Irish author, or a book that talks about Irish culture. So I have 2 books in front of me, and I hope to get to one of these. I don't think I'll read both this month. But first off, I have Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. I read Normal People by Sally Rooney and didn't really love it because of the writing style. There's no like quotation marks or anything, so it was a bit odd. I honestly have no clue what this book's about. This was a present from Cami, by the way, but I'm hoping to either pick this one up, or I'm hoping to read Brooklyn by Colm Toibin. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, I'm sorry. But these 2 books are by Irish authors, so I'm hoping to pick one up to celebrate St. Patrick's in my own way, which is reading. And actually one of my all-time favorite movies is Brooklyn, and that stars Saoirse Ronan, and I've never read the book, so this is why I've owned it for so long, and I haven't read it, so I really hope to. And this one follows an Irish girl, and she immigrates to the United States, and this one talks a lot about homesickness and missing your home, which for her is Ireland. And I adored this movie so much because it's one of the only movies that I've ever been able to relate to being homesick, living in a different country, but knowing that you have so many more opportunities here, but still missing where you're from. I adored that movie. I think that's one of my most watched movies, so I can't wait to read the book and hope that it's as good. Alright, so those are all of the books that I want to read in the month of March. I hope that y'all join in all of the book clubs and all of the readathons and things that I mentioned in this video. It's kind of like a hectic March TBR. Don't think that I'll get to everything, but I sure hope I can. Alright, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time with another video soon. Bye!